Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Philip Phillips, and I'm the Associate Dean of the University Honors College, and I'm very pleased to welcome all of you here to our Fall 2015 Honors Lecture Series. This is one of our favorite times of year because today we have as our guests two of our very own honors students who are going to talk to us about their projects and share their experiences and give you an opportunity to ask them questions. Our first speaker is Alayna Cate, who is an instrumental music education major from Knoxville, Tennessee. She is a presidential scholar here at MTSU, and she will be teaching full-time for Residency 2 in the spring. Her plans after graduation include moving to Austin, Texas, and teaching elementary school music. Her thesis title is Musical Arrangement of Claude Debussy's Children's Corner for Clarinet, Choir, and Percussion. She wrote her thesis under the direction of her advisor, Paul Osterfield. So please join me in welcoming Alayna.
Hi, everybody. Like Dr. Phillips said, I'm a music education major, so I chose that route to go with my thesis. And as opposed to doing a research-based thesis, I chose to do the creative project route. And now some of us may not realize what the big difference is, but after this, I hope you do. And before we get started, I was on the fence about doing something in my major. And you don't have to do something within your major for your thesis project. But what I was most passionate about was music, and at the time I wanted to learn more about this specific area of arranging music. So for people who aren't music people in the room, it's not composing. It's a little bit different than composing. So composing music, you're writing something completely on your own, writing down every idea from your own head. Arranging, you're taking something that already exists, something that's written already, and I chose Claude Debussy's music for solo piano. And by arranging it, I made my own different version of it for different voicing, different instrumentation. And so here we have Claude Debussy on the left and his daughter, Claude Emma. And now the piece that I chose, the Children's Corner Suite, is 6 movements for piano solo, like I said, and only one of those movements is particularly popular, and it's the last one, Gollywog's Cakewalk. Some of you will probably recognize it once we get it started. And then his daughter, Claude Emma, who they called Chow Chow, that was her nickname, he wrote this entire suite about her and about her toys or some other aspect of her life. So research-wise, this is what I did most of my time, used most of my time to research and learn more about before I chose to use this particular piece of music. It was in the public domain, so I didn't have to worry about getting copyright. That was also a good selling point for me. Before I go any further, I want to go ahead and show you guys the recording, because we just performed this for my senior recital. And once it was all completed, it's got a video on YouTube. So I'm going to have this playing while I talk a little bit. I might turn it up just a little bit. Can everybody hear that? Okay. So this is the MTSU Clarinet Choir. And during the process of the course of the semester, I actually got to work with them, and they played my arrangement for my senior recital, kind of to wrap everything up, which is really awesome. And I'm very thankful for Dr. Waldecker, the clarinet professor, for letting me do that. He really just kind of let me take reign of the group and teach them my piece of music that we wrote. So anyway, the 6 movements, Dr. Gratis ad Parnassum, that one briefly just is about his daughter's piano lessons and piano experience. There's a famous 19th century piano technique book that she used that has the title Gratis ad Parnassum. Jimbo's Lullaby, number 2, is about the famous elephant. There's an African elephant that was probably the world's first famous circus animal. And his name was Jumbo, but there's a little bit of a translation error that kind of was built into the title. And Debussy called it Jimbo. Serenade for the Doll. Chow Chow had a porcelain doll, which I think is what this is here. Although this picture is a little fuzzy and old. But she had a porcelain doll that she loved. Other than that, we don't really know much about that one. The Snow is Dancing, number 4, is supposed to be one of the most challenging and technically and emotionally challenging for the players to play and for the pianist originally. It's supposed to also represent a child sad looking out of a window, looking at the snow because they're sad and they can't go outside and play. The snow is dancing. The Little Shepherd is the shortest of the 6 movements. It is unclear what that one is about. It could be, some say, the wallpaper in her room, or it could represent some kind of nativity scene, shepherd. And then Gollywog's Cakewalk. The Gollywog was a famous doll. Has some like to theorize that it was a little bit of a controversial character because it was a black doll with red eyes, famous in highly slave-owning times, the 1800s. And then the cakewalk was a type of dance that you won a cake at the end of it if you, I guess, had the best execution of the dance. But it's also the most playful and most fun movement of the suite. So that is the big picture of what I was doing the whole time. And so my process went like this. I took the original, which we see here, the piano score, and then I voiced it for clarinets and percussion. And so everything for clarinets I took from here. I didn't write any of it. I arranged it. So I took what I saw here for right hand, left hand, if you're familiar with piano at all. That's typically how that works. So as opposed to writing an entire line for one clarinet, I would split it up and kind of mix match, piece things together to where it would fit the easiest for the players and make the most sense musically. Harmonically, I didn't really change anything. In the 5th movement, I believe, I had to transpose because the key was really difficult. So we transposed into a better key for clarinet players. And then percussion-wise, there was no percussion written for the suite. So anything like bass drum, snare drum, like mallet, percussion, I did have to write and kind of create some things out of nowhere. And I tried to stay true to Debussy's dynamics, which is how loud and soft things are. So here he has piano at the very beginning, and I have piano at the very beginning of my score as well. So for most of the aspects of the process, I tried to keep true to what his original said. The tempos and everything as well, I tried to keep the same. Okay, and so the next item on my list, the program that I used to do all of this. I used Sibelius, Sibelius 7, version 7. Some people use Finale to write music, and then there's MuseScore, and there's other things out there, but I just chose this one because some of my classmates knew the most about this one, and they helped me get started with it. But what I will say, if you are planning on doing something that requires technological proficiency, get used to it really early on, because it's difficult to see something like this and you have no idea how to use it for the first time, and you have, I had 6 movements ahead of me in February, and I had to learn how to use this program effectively or efficiently. And so everything up there I got really comfortable with early on. I found some mentors and some friends, and my project advisor also uses this program, and he was able to help me with it as well. But it is definitely one of the major things that I feel accomplished with throughout this is being savvy with Sibelius. And for advising purposes, yeah, I hope you like my movie reference. Total rom-com fan here. The proposal is a very important step in your thesis project, and most of you will be getting into that pretty soon. So this is a little bit of a repetitive plan ahead, plan a detailed and realistic timeline, but take it very seriously. Your proposal is basically what you're going by from the very beginning. And your timeline. My timeline was, I thought in February of this year, I thought that my timeline would change a whole lot, and I thought that things would be, things would come at me that I didn't expect. And that is true to a point, but having the timeline was very critical to my success. And let's say when Dr. Weil, we were at the defense, and he says, if you could do anything differently, what would it be? I said, I'd probably stick to my timeline a little bit closer. And my project advisor, Dr. Osterfield, he chimed in, he said, no, we were right on. You stayed very clear to this. I was like, really? Because I felt kind of behind. But it's very important nonetheless. And take care of business. Just do everything you know you need to do. If you have a minute to do it, do it. And here is the lovely MTSU Clarinet Choir and me with the same scarf on. Rehearsals in the music building. Every Wednesday, the MTSU Clarinet Choir has a class under Dr. Waldecker. And he's fabulous. He's very, very flexible, and he let me take control of them as much as I needed to. And I needed to because what I have written is kind of difficult, and it's lengthy. And I think that's why it was so hard to get everything together from August to October 27th when we performed. So the instrumentation, we have True Blue. She's the E-flat clarinet player. It's a small one. Everyone else on the front row is B-flat clarinet's the standard one that kids learn in middle school and keep playing. And then over here we've got 3 bass clarinets and then a contrabass clarinet, which is just a really big bass clarinet. But I got to be with them every Wednesday, and I was really lucky to have that happen for me. We also, what you might not notice here, is percussion. Okay, so they were not a part of our Wednesday class, and that was the most difficult thing about getting the performance together, because I think we only had 2 rehearsals before the performance with everyone there. And it's already a lot of people, in my opinion. This is a lot of people to have all together all the time to work on something and get it done. Now, these people were in a class. They didn't really have a choice. They had to be there. But the percussionist, I asked them nicely, volunteered to do it. I bought them Starbucks afterwards, but getting them together was like Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. We were there for like an hour. So they were definitely rock stars. Everything at the performance went really well, regardless of how few rehearsals we had together. And this is Dr. Waldecker and I after the performance, which was October 27th at 6 o'clock, if you saw my flyers around the Honors College or Music Building. Bunch of clarinets here. I would say other than getting everybody together and in the same place at the same time, one of the hardest things for me was being a student, teaching other students, and kind of directing other students, because I did conduct the performance, and I was in front of them at every rehearsal. It was a good experience for me to become more professional about teaching and about, you know, being very clear with what I want them to do. And musically, I grew a whole lot because I got to write. Number one, I got to compose a little bit. I arranged an entire suite. I taught at a collegiate level, sort of. And yeah, I organized a recital with 30-something people. And yeah, I guess, I mean, other than that, I think that everything went really smoothly. I would definitely do it again. I'm definitely interested in arranging more and composing more. And with Sibelius, you know, if I get an idea, I can just jot it down. It may not be perfect, but it'll be there on my computer. And I actually have a publishing inquiry from someone in Indiana who was interested in looking at the score and hearing the CD, so hopefully that happens for me as well. And I want you guys to hear the last movement because I think you'll know it. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit and then try to find it. The whole thing altogether ended up being 20 minutes. Ignore the 22 because there's some clapping and pausing.
May I make one comment while you're looking at that? What she didn't tell you is that not only she directed it, but she directed it without a score in front of her. And that was very impressive to me to see.
Thank you. Yeah, and that wasn't the plan originally. I wasn't going to do it from memory, but I had lived with it since February. Oh my goodness, the editing process. I didn't even talk about it. You know, I figured with a creative project that I wouldn't be doing as much editing and revising and editing and revising and exporting and will you look at this for me? And oh my goodness, the editing process, the formatting process, and page numbers. Who knew that page numbers would be so difficult to like work with? I figured it out, but some of those things were the most frustrating along the way. So, okay, and we're almost there. This is the end of the fifth movement, the Little Shepherd. Which does not have percussion. I excluded them so that they could take a break and it'd be a little bit of a change of timbre from movement to movement. And they're about to start the gollywog. And this is on YouTube if you want to go look at the rest of it. I'm gonna pause it right here. This was one section that I actually I had taken conducting 1 and conducting 2, so I finished my conducting courses here. But this was one section where I had a really hard time figuring out how to get them to do what I want because the tempo's slow, and then instantly fast, and then slow, and then fast again. So I had to go find someone else to help me with it. It's a very important part of the thesis is to utilize your resources, and I definitely had to do that. I'll finish it, and if you guys have any questions, you can just go ahead and do that now, I think. If not, we'll just listen to the rest of it.
What's your future goals with your degree, and does your thesis play into that?
Yeah, definitely. My goals are to teach music for a little while. I want to be an elementary school teacher just because I love the little ones. I think that's a critical time in child development and musical development. I strongly believe that all children are musical. But I think that this definitely will help me in my side goals alongside teaching. So I would love to publish more music, maybe make some money off of that, and just kind of get my name out there with clarinet world. You might not think there's a big market for clarinet choir music, but there really is.
I'm not one of the music people.
Okay.
So this is going to be a very ridiculous question for those who are music people. The distinction between arranging and composing that you mentioned at the outset. How different does your arrangement have to be from the original to make it yours? Suddenly it's your arrangement.
Right.
And then if you get very, very different, are you no longer faithful to the composition, and it just is no longer the same piece of work at all? I'm searching for that sliding scale in between those two extremes.
Well, there is a gray area. So an arrangement technically begins as soon as you start copying it onto any different voicing. As far as copyright goes, for certain publications you have to get permission to even start. But since this is public domain, I could arrange however I'd like. Really, there's no guidelines and rules as to what's an arrangement. There's also transcription, which is a word for word or note for note onto something else. So had I not changed anything and not done anything, I guess I might have called it a transcription, but I did add percussion, and I did change a little bit of the dynamic focus in areas. But as far as the guidelines and the clarity there, I'm not sure that there's much of a place for what is an arrangement. Yeah, definitely something to look into.
Any questions?